One of the other issues that we have in this case that really makes me want to believe that it is not just an ordinary everyday individual is the very nature of the police outfit itself. For example, they estimate that this killer was between 5'3" and 5'8", or even like one of the more conservative, shouldn't say conservative, one of the larger estimates, I don't know why I said conservative, one of the larger estimates about how tall this person is from 5 feet to 5'9", given the fact that this person is most likely wearing boots and the helmet was probably included in a lot of the approximations. So from 5 foot to 5'9", this person is walking with a very distinct gait with the toes pointed outward that is not very mobile. And they think one of the reasons is maybe someone was wearing shoes that were too large for them to kind of hide their appearance and disguise their appearance to an extent. Why would an ordinary, everyday individual who has never killed anyone before try to come at a fitness instructor with a getup that is going to make them less mobile? It's like that would serve as a major hindrance. That would make it very difficult for them to do any sort of movement. What if Missy saw them before they tried to attack her, and you wouldn't even be able to run away in clothes like that if you weren't familiar with that, or if you were wearing shoes that were not the right size against, a woman who was a muscular fitness trainer. So this whole theory that there is a woman in that police suit, and the woman is wearing shoes that are too large for her, and this is just somebody that Missy knew who had a problem with her, and that person decided to attack a 45-year-old fitness trainer who was in excellent condition and also very muscular and capable of at least running away. Or is this the work of somebody who knew what they were doing, who had a little more familiarity with how to stalk someone, with how to attack someone, and of course, sadly, how to murder someone? That leads me to suggest that this was a professional hit job. This was a person who had a lot of familiarity with stalking victims, who knew how to approach them, and who also knew what moves to take and what moments to strike at. Therefore, this person was not concerned at all about wearing the excessive and bulky gear. Keep in mind that this just is a theory, but it really is just one of the things that did not make sense for me when you start just thinking, well, who in her personal life would have done this to her? And if you go through every person in her life, well, why would somebody that she knew make themselves less mobile to try and kill her? Yes, okay, so you're seen on the security footage wearing a police vest and they can't see the face. Why would they wear such bulky clothes? Why would they wear such heavy boots? And as you see, the person walking down the hallway with that very sort of distinct wobbling gait, the toes are pointed outward and they can't tell if it's a man or a woman. They think the person in the suit is wearing shoes that are not the right size. Or even if we look back to the theory that that person has a prosthetic limb, all of those things. The fact is, when you wear all those layers, and even the fact that your vision is limited because of the helmet, why would someone who has never killed before make the job more difficult? And furthermore, why would they make themselves less mobile? It would be so easy for a woman who is in excellent shape to just see you and then run and then get away. How could an ordinary individual who is wearing the wrong size shoes even chase after Missy Bevers, or even scurry away from her and try and disappear when you're wearing that bulky outfit? It's like, that is one thing that just doesn't make sense. What makes sense to me more is that this is somebody who knew where she was going to be, who was waiting for her by the main entrance, and knew exactly when to strike. They had a driver lined up, waiting to come for her. I just said for her. Maybe it's a him, maybe it's a he, we don't know. It could be a man or a woman in that suit. But they had the driver of a silver Nissan Altima waiting to arrive. And then, that's just basically commit your crime and then get out. Doesn't matter who has seen you on the cameras. No evidence is going to be left because this person knew what they were doing. They knew how to commit a murder with leaving almost no evidence behind the scene. And they also knew how to distract the cameras and how to just sort of throw the false leads and the exact opportune moment when to attack somebody so they would be rendered most likely defenseless. It just feels like this is something that was planned too well for the amateur mind. I have to admit that it is possible. It is possible that someone who had no familiarity with killing people could just be like, well, you know what I should do? I should put on a police vest and a helmet. That way they won't know it's me, and then I'm going to walk around in circles to throw off the cameras, keep people guessing. I'm going to wait by the door, and as soon as she walks in, I'm going to hit her with my hammer. But we're only saying that now because we already have familiarity with the case. And I just really would think it's almost beyond belief that someone's instincts are going to work that way, that someone is going to have such a excellent instinct for pulling off a crime like this if they have never done it before. If this is someone who has a lot of familiarity with this line of work, with professional killing, being an assassin, being a hit person, whatever you want to call it, that gives me the very strong instinct that somebody she did know had a problem with her, and they hired a professional to have her murdered. I do believe that this was a hit job, and I believe that there were multiple assailants involved. We don't have any footage released to the public of a second person inside the church. We also don't have any video outside of the church of any sign of two people being on the property. However, I have a very strong suspicion that somebody was assisting the person you see in that police costume with the murder, mainly for the reason that I just don't see that person as a driver, because again, that feels very implausible to me that somebody is going to be wearing that very bulky costume and, even, yes, wearing that giant police vest and then being the getaway driver, boogie on out of there. I think it sounds much more reasonable that they just had somebody else driving the car. I don't think that person would have had time to change their clothes or anything. I think that person just got in a car, and then while the other person was driving, they just began to strip off the police uniform, and they hightailed it out of Midlothian, Texas, maybe never to return again. I said in one of the previous parts of the podcast that I do not believe that this person is a resident of Midlothian, Texas. I believe that much more evidence would have surfaced by now. This is most likely somebody that was not from the local area, could be from anywhere in the country then, and that's a very sad thing, but the police have ways of identifying cars. The police have ways of tracking purchases. It really feels like there would have been more evidence that would have surfaced if this person had been a local to Midlothian, Texas. However, it's so difficult to accept, though, that this is anything other than a professional job, because I have to say that question to you again, and I'm saying it so many times because it's just like you can't get it out of your mind. Why would someone make the job more difficult? Why would somebody go to the length of not only disguising themselves as a police officer, but the bulky riot gear, the bulky SWAT team uniform? I mean, how difficult would it be to just put on a black mask or something and sort of just hide in the corner. If this person probably had a very, very specific reason for the outfit that they wore. They probably had a very good knowledge of how to conduct a crime like this without leaving any evidence. And they probably had an assailant to assist them getting to the church property and getting off of the property. So that really makes me believe that there were multiple people involved and that this person had a little more experience with taking the human life than we would like to imagine. And it is a tragedy, and it is very, very, very sad and scary to think that there are people like that out there. But this in reality, this does exist. And when we go through these true crime stories, we encounter this all the time, even for the ones that were not professional hit jobs. You get people who are on the voice recorders and on the video camera, the secret hidden camera, going to somebody and saying, "Hey, I'll give you $20,000 if you kill my ex-husband." And these things happen all the time. So it is very sad and scary to think, but I really just have to keep promoting the idea that the person in that police uniform is a hired professional hitman, hitwoman. Is it possible that it is a professional hit woman? Yes, absolutely. That would definitely account for the size and stature of the person, 5 feet to 5'9". And if we take away the costume, maybe that person is 5 foot to 5'6". That's really the average height of a woman. That's very possible. But when you're someone like that, going up against a fitness trainer who is in excellent shape, and even if they can't physically overpower you in a fight, she would definitely have the capabilities to get away. So that really just sort of makes me think that it's a very bizarre move for someone who is not familiar with this sort of activity, if to try and do this for the first time. I mean, why would you make it more difficult on yourself? Why would you make it more difficult to kill someone if you've never done it before? If you actually knew what you were doing and you actually had, a lot of experience in this, maybe wearing a police uniform that's more bulky and less mobile is no problem for you. But the fact that this is just someone who got really angry at Missy and then wanted to take her life out of revenge or out of spite or out of hatred, this is the approach that you're going to do? I don't know, this really just doesn't feel like a crime of passion, and it also doesn't feel like this was a poorly planned operation. It really feels like something that was planned very quickly, very precisely. The person knew how to cover their tracks, and the person also knew how to disappear into the night. The person knew how to arrange everything, and everything fits too perfectly. And notice that the killer's never been caught, and they really can't identify anything. And that's one of the most tragic and unfortunate things about this case. Maybe we will never know who is in that uniform, even whether it's a man or a woman, and the FBI is really saying nothing, but that's very, very tragic. And all our hearts must be going out to the family, and we really just have to hope that something like this doesn't happen again, and that law enforcement will get very, very tough on crimes like this.